Hey guys, let's get started. So this is my client Mariah and I'll be doing her nails today and showing everything step by step. So the first thing you're going to do is get your cuticle pusher, and this is your first step. You're going to be pushing her skin back. All the cuticle, all that dead skin that's on her sidewalls you don't need, or if you're doing it to yourself, gently push back the skin. You can do it in circular motions, but we're doing it to get as much space that we need on the nail. So my client has nothing on her hands. She does have a little bit of residue from her last set. So I'm taking a sanding band, and my setting is only on a 3-4, which is really low because this could burn your client's nail. So I'm just lightly going over really quickly. You don't want to give them like a heat spike. You just want to get, whatever that was on off, and also to make the nail a little rigid. Okay, so next up, I am using a diamond bit, and this bit right here that you see me using on Mariah's nails, it is really good quality. It's a certain material. It is different from the bits that you see on Amazon that they sell in a set. That's a ceramic bit. The ceramic bit heats up really quickly. It has these little ridges in it. It could damage your nails or your client's nails, and I would just say to invest in a diamond bit because it lasts longer. You'll get more uses out of it. It is more expensive, but I promise when you use it, it lifts up the skin easier, it doesn't cut you, and it's just the best investment, and I've been using it on my clients. And of course, over time, you'll have to buy a new one, but this easily lifts it off. It literally is flawless, so I would recommend this. And I'm just going around Mariah's nails and lifting all the little dead skin on her sidewalls. Okay, so once that's done, the skin is lifted, all the little cuticles. So now I'm just trimming what she doesn't need because cuticle is just dead skin. And this may take a little practice when you're a beginner because sometimes you may cut too deep, but after a while you'll feel like not to go so deep and the skin is already lifted. And you can easily get one of these nail clippers on Amazon. The ones I use is Stalic, and those are perfectly fine. I also use one that is a Korean brand, but mine is like $75, $80, but I've been doing this a long time, so I would recommend the one on Amazon for sure. You're doing a beautiful job. Our next step is to dehydrate the nail. We dehydrate the nail because the nail has to be dry. Gel loves dry surfaces because it'll stick and last longer, so do not skip this step. So our next step is sizing. So whether it's yourself or a client, pick the size that's right for you. And what I always do is that I'll pick a nail, put it on the client, and I look left to right to make sure that both side walls are covered, meaning that no piece of her nail is sticking out, nothing is out, and nothing is, everything is just covered. Make sure, because if you pick a size that is too small, her nail is gonna hurt once it comes out of the light, or if she hits something, it's very likely that that nail could fling off and it's just gone forever. So make sure that you pick the right size, take your time, look left to right, and don't pick a size that's too big. And if you have to, you could file, of course, because sometimes everyone's nails are different. Gelx just came out with the sizing where they have half sizes, so you shouldn't have to deal with it now. But just make sure you cover both sides because you don't want any piece of the nail, hanging out. That's all. But just take your time. Alright, so we have all our sizes picked out. Next, you have to use a primer. Primer is going to be your best friend because primer is sticky, and this is what holds the gel onto your nail or your client's nail. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot miss this step. If you do not put primer on, there's nothing sticky to hang on for that nail, and it's very likely to come off. So make sure you use primer. And if you don't know if your client's nails, either her hands get sweaty or maybe her nails don't stick well, it's okay to use primer 2 times. You can put primer on, let it sit, and then do another layer of primer just to make sure. I've had clients and even my best friend where her hands are just sweaty and her nails kind of pop off easier, and it just, you never know, but you can always just use 2 times of primer. Just make sure that that primer is on and it will stick. I promise you, do not miss this step. So next step is to file the inside of your nails. I use a ceramic bit for this. You can use a sanding band. I just like the smaller bits because I get really in there and I make sure I file. You don't want to file too much because you could warp it, and just be careful with this, but file the inside. Okay, so the next step is to take the gelx Extend Gel and you're going to put a thin layer on each finger. And I say thin because you don't want it to be too bulky. You don't need that much gel, I promise you. If you make it too thick, it's going to be weird for the tip to actually sit on her nail or your nail if you're doing your own. So do a very thin layer. Make sure you cover the entire nail. Please take your time, no rush. Just make sure that there is gel on that nail, because what this does, this gives an extra layer that lets the tip sit on the nail and it'll just last longer. So you want to make sure she has enough gel, it's covered, so that baby will not come off. So once the gel is on all her hands, I would suggest to do 60 seconds. Some people do 30. I do 60 because I just like to make sure that it's on and it is really, really cured. Now this part is up to you what you would like to use. So this here is my standing light, and it's just easier for me to use instead of holding a flashlight, because all I have to do is make sure that nail is perfectly on her nail. I hold it and the light cures it so it sticks to her finger. I know some other girls like to use the handed light, but I just don't feel like I can really push down on the nail and make sure it's secure if I'm holding a little light and pushing on the nail, so I use this stand. It just helps me. I only use this one from Gelx because I feel like it's the strongest one I've ever used. Anytime I've used one off of Amazon, it just didn't work. Now this one is a little bit more expensive. I think it's like $90 now, but this one lasts a very long time and I never have a problem. I mean, you can of course experiment, see if you like the ones on Amazon or any other store, but this has always been perfect. And I'm only recommending the things that I actually use on my clients and celebrities, and this baby is the one. So the process that I'm doing is that I take the nail and I put gel on the inside of the tip, and then I place it on her finger. I make sure that her finger is pointed downward so that the gel flows down. You don't want your client having her finger up. That's gonna make you have air bubbles, and you do not want any kind of air bubbles in the nail because that thing will pop off. So make sure your client's nail is relaxed and pointed in a downward direction. And you may ask, is it normal to feel heat when you go into the light? And yes, that is normal. I have clients for their first time, they feel a heat spike. So what a heat spike is, basically, they're called polymers. So just think of chains connecting really, really quickly. And when the chains connect really quickly, it causes heat. The heat is the gel connecting, like trying to stick and adhere to your nail. And that's how you feel a heat spike and why you may feel it. It is normal. Your finger is not going to fall off. It just is a very quick, hot feeling. So if you or your client feels that, it's okay to take it out of the light. Make sure you ask her, please let me know if you feel any discomfort, and then you can remove it, wait till it cools down, and then you can go back into the light. But it also may mean that the person's nails are brittle and thin, so that heat is hurting the nail, and also that maybe you may have used too much gel. So all that gel is like a lot of heat on your nail. But it is normal and it's okay, and you can take it out of the light and put it right back in. You're fine, promise. I will say this though, so whenever you apply the thumb, just know that the thumb is the biggest finger and you're probably going to use the most gel for this, so you definitely might feel a heat spike. It's normal, but yeah. So once you're finished with the thumb, you're going to put that hand into the light for 60 seconds and just repeat with the other hand. Remember, a thin layer on each finger, then back into the light for 60 seconds, and then just apply all the other nails. Okay, now that all our nails are on, you're going to get a file, and you're going to file the left and the right side of the nail. So I do this because there may be some gel that seeped out when it was in the light, so you're going to want to get rid of that. And then also at the tip of the nail, you're going to want to file just to make sure it's like nice and soft. And yeah, because you don't want to polish and then you have like this gel on the side, so just get rid of it real quick. Okay, so this is a step you cannot miss. So this, I'm using Gelx Prep. I'm sorry it was out of focus, and I'm just rubbing this on the nail. So what this does is that this takes off the shiny layer of the nail. So why we need to take off the shiny layer of the nail is that it has to be roughed up. You can also take a buffer block and rub it on and then wipe off with acetone. But if you were to put gel polish on, it would not stick. So that's why you have to do this step. So we are at our last step, and basically you're just going to polish the nail. I'm just checking with her to see if she loves this color, but you're gonna go ahead and do whatever color design that you love. With my clients, I like to show them a couple of different colors. So she didn't know if she wanted a pink base or a nude base. Make sure that you show all the different colors, and then you could just go ahead and wipe off the one that she doesn't want, but make sure you give girls options. When I polish, I like to do a drop of polish and then push up towards the cuticle and then swipe down middle, left, right. You will get the hang of it however you feel comfortable, but I always do just a drop, not too close to the cuticle because you don't want to flood it. I just literally push it up and then push it back down, if you could see. With my tips for polishing, it's literally just to use a very thin layer for your first coat. So I always tell my clients, your first coat is just your base, it is your foundation. And then your second coat, that's the color where you'll really see it come out, but don't use a heavy first coat. You don't want the nails to be chunky, and that's my rule of thumb. Of course, you can do whatever you like, but this has always worked for me, and it always comes out really beautiful. And I will say this, if you're starting out or maybe you've done your nails before and sometimes they're not coming out the way you want, I promise you it's just practice. Like, you have to just keep trying, and it'll just be perfect, because that's all that nails really is. That's all that drawing is. When you draw on your nails, it's literally just like muscle memory and just perfecting it just like anything else is. So don't get discouraged, don't get frustrated, because I know it is super easy to get annoyed and pissed off when they don't come out looking right. But if you keep practicing, they're literally going to be gorgeous. I promise you that. So just keep working on it and you'll have the best nails. You might not even have to go back to a salon. I'm not even joking. Your first coat of polish has cured, and now we're on to our second coat. So you're literally just gonna do the same exact thing. This one can be a little bit heavier, this layer, because now you want the color to really come out and to show. So you don't have to be so skimpy on this layer. Just make sure it's not too heavy. Again, you don't want this nail to be chunky. Just add a little bit more than before. And just remember, push towards the cuticle, back down, left, right, and you're done. So for Mariah, she wants to have a certain design. So what I do when I'm going to draw designs is I do a matte top coat. This is more of a preference for me, only because I can see designs better when it's on like a matte top coat, because it's just the perfections and imperfections I could see better. But this is what I do, so I'm just applying a matte top coat. So once that's dry, I take a very thin brush and I just draw out her designs very slowly. Make sure your pinky is anchored. And you see my pinky, when I say anchored, it's like it holds the rest of your hand. That's how you're gonna have more of a steady flow. You'll be able to draw better, and it's easier to maneuver your hand. It won't be so shaky. So that's a good pro tip. And if you don't have a thin brush, it's okay to create your own. So you can take a thinner brush from something else and cut off the bristles and make your own. I do this all the time because sometimes I just can't find the right brush. So I just cut it up and I have like a couple thin, little bristles on there, and it will do the trick. I promise it's the same as if you buy the super expensive ones. So this is the final result, you guys. This is how our nails came out. I hope that I helped you guys with some tips. If you guys have any questions or want to know the products I use, it is linked below. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be doing more videos like this to help you guys with your nails.
I woke up to Amber in my bed.